Okay, so good morning, everybody, and thank you for coming along to this session of Maynooth's Open Day. To start with, thank you for giving up what looks to be a very promising sunny morning for a few minutes with us to learn more about a career in business here at Maynooth University. So my name is Joseph Coughlin. I'm the Professor of Marketing in the School of Business, and I'm joined by my colleague, Dr. John Cullen, and also by three of our students, Colin, Edward, and Anna, who are going to talk to you about their experience as well as part of the Maynooth School of Business. So to thank them very much, they're all final years in their last couple of weeks with us. So it's kind of very good of them to give up their time to come and talk to you, and I want to just formally record that. So what we're going to do is go through a short presentation. If you have any questions at any time, please feel free to use the question and answer session, and either one of my colleagues or students or one of my colleagues here will answer the question for you, or else I'll answer it live at the end. So if something strikes you and you've a question, please note that other attendees don't see your questions. So, we'll answer them, and we'll answer some of them live. So if there are generic questions coming up, we will aim to answer all questions as best we can. This session is being recorded, but just please note that obviously you're not on camera and so on, and your questions will be recorded in terms of the questions and answers, but not actually used in any recording that we publish. So just to say, we're going to do a short presentation, and interspersed among that is some presentations from our students who've been very kind, these three students, to work with us on this area. And what I'm going to do is talk through all our degrees. This recording will be available on our Maynooth website after this session, so it's going to be processed over the weekend and should be available by Monday on our Open Day website and be downloadable in multiple formats on that day. Okay, so before we start the kind of formal stuff, one of the things that everybody is unfortunately very used to at the moment is all these new systems, like new to most of us, Zoom and Teams and all these things that we over a year ago never thought existed half the time. But I think that a lot of us have started to do and become more active on, and we see this with our students and our faculty and even yourselves, I'm sure, is become more active on social media. And there's a bit of a digital issue about kind of which social media platform do you use. So we just created a very short poll, and what I'd like you to do is going to pop up on screen now, and you're going to get a couple of options. So would you mind just to please answer this, and I'll share the results then, and we'll talk a little bit how this reflects what's happening nationally, so you get to see a little bit about business. So you can see now that this poll should be there for you to look at. So let's have a look and see who's on with us and what kind of system is doing well. So this is, which one do you use the most, is the one we're asking. There's lots of ways of answering this question, and when we get up to kind of most people voting, and thank you very much, we've got a good level of response already. 80% with my statistics head would make me very confident of the results, but there's a kind of a tie between, well, someone's pulling ahead at this stage, so we'll have to see what it is. So we're on, let's give, I think pretty much everyone has voted. So I'm going to end the poll so you'll be able to see the results, and I'm going to share them here. So basically, I stopped it with 70 something people voting. So you should be able to see on screen what happens. So we've got a very small few people who mainly use Twitter. And if I was being ageist, which I'm not, that typically would be my older colleagues or older friends, perhaps, or some of you who are more used to that. Though Twitter is, I firmly believe from some of our students, very much popular with the horse racing fraternity of all people, where a lot of tips go out on Twitter rather than any other thing. Facebook, the old reliable, is still there and going strong, and you can see that Instagram is the most popular, and with Snapchat just behind and TikTok following along. This wouldn't be unusual given the profile of our students either, so Instagram would be probably one of the most popular ones, and the fact that a lot of Instagrammers go on TikTok and also post their TikToks on Instagram as Reels means that you can kind of seamlessly go between the two a lot of the time. So it's an interesting one. And this, I suppose what's interesting about it is that we're now seeing more people using stories, including Maynooth School of Business ourselves having stories and having Instagram accounts. So if you find us online and follow us, that'd be great as well. But just to see, that's just gives us an idea of the profile. So a lot of you are on Instagram, so maybe we should be on Instagram TV or something at some stage, but maybe we'll move on to that at some stage. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to move on with the presentation. So just to start with, just to say that why would you study business? This is about a career in business in general, but obviously we're primarily talking about our programs here in Maynooth. But in general, why would you have a career in business and why would you study business? So first of all, what we'd say is that all organizations that exist, be they public or private, have to raise finance, including our government has to raise finance and account for their income and expenditure, the money coming in and the money coming out. We call that different things. We call it profitability. We call it, if you're an entrepreneur, you're trying to build a business, you're trying to expand and so on. And then what we also say is that almost every product and service you use and value in day-to-day life is delivered through business. So promoted through marketing and organized through management. So a lot of the things that business has changed quite a bit over the last couple of months. So we've all gone online a lot more. So for example, we've made, maybe some of us for the first time, forays into online shopping, and we found out many things. We might have been scrolling through Instagram and been caught by an ad and decided to buy something, or maybe you're watching some of those Instagrammers or TikToks in unboxing their lives, which is kind of a whole other interesting thing. And also organized through management, looking at, for example, things like supply chains and getting product to us. And we see this every day when we see about the national media about the vaccine and how much supply chains, and we've learned a lot more about cold supply chains, for example. So how in a sunny day your ice cream gets to the local shop is probably not that different except for temperature about how your vaccine will get to you in the longer term. So it's learning from these kind of chill chains and cold chains. And that's something that our students will be learning about and finding out about relevant things that are interesting for them and interesting for business today. The Higher Education Authority, who provides funding for third level education in Ireland through the government, does a survey every year of graduates. And over the years, they found that business graduates are among the most employable in Ireland. So I'm not going to claim they're number one, but we're not that far off. Things like medicine are still number one, as you can imagine. But one of the things about business in Ireland, which is quite interesting for people who want to work in Ireland and work abroad, is that it's a very open economy. A little bit battered at the moment by Brexit, but we're getting there. Very entrepreneurial and very internationally focused. So those among you who kind of have, unlike me, probably a better flair for color than most people, will see that a number of those words are colored, and these are keywords that we use in kind of designing our degrees and designing our offerings. So what are our offerings? So there's a lot. Maynooth School of Business is very much focused on offering you choice. That's one of our core values. We try to offer students choice and options in their degree. We try to choose, for example, that when you come into us on some of our degrees, you can even change within the first couple of weeks within CAO codes. If you come into us in arts, you can change all your subjects within the first 4 weeks if you wish, and that's a very, very common thing. Or you might know what you want to do and be very clear about what you want to do, in which case we have programs that are very specific as well. So starting in the middle, we have our arts degree, which is one of the largest degrees that we have. And then we have a range of degrees that are more specialist and also offer options and electives within them. So we have on the right-hand side our more business, traditional business focused degrees, such as business and management, marketing, international business, and entrepreneurship. Across the bottom, we have our more finance oriented courses such as quantitative finance, international finance and economics. And then on the right-hand side, we have business and accounting and finance. And on the top left there, we have our degrees shared with law, which are law and business and law and accounting. So I'm going to talk a little bit about all those. A lot of them are quite similar in that we have some common parts to our degrees and then some different parts. I'm going to talk a little bit about those later on as well. So why would you study business? Well, I've given you 5 different industries here. So on the top left, you've a traditional manufacturing situation. What would a business person be doing there? Well, a business person would be maybe managing people. A business person maybe actually marketing that organization, looking for new markets, and also maybe trying to streamline the processes that make sure that they offer an efficient and friendly service to their customers. On the right top, you have a medical kind of scenario. We have huge experience in business in working with different service professions, including medicine and in the health services and so on. And you can see that a lot of the stuff we see in the national media these days about vaccines, for example, about getting people to vaccine centres, about having a queuing system for vaccines, are all business issues a lot of the time that business people are very used to solving. And many of you, if you work in a business currently, know about queuing systems. You know, for example, if you worked in retail, you know there's a queue and you know how these things work. If you worked in food service, it's the same idea. Food has to get to people hot, vaccines have to get to people cold. You know, it's a very similar type of idea. On the bottom left is a very, well, up to a couple of months ago, a year ago, was a really successful industry of Ireland, the travel industry, which hopefully will pick up again. And we would have a lot of interaction with that industry as well. Security and public service is kind of represented by the Garda Síochána, and we would have some links in there as well with the Defence Forces and various other groups across the School of Business. And then finally, sport, to reflect that basically business is also about that. And business is also about what we often call pastimes. You can build a business out of that particular area. And sports management is a growing area of interest across the sector. So now what I'm going to do is go through some of these degrees, the core elements of them. So first about management. So management is about organization. And I think one of the big things about it at the very simplest is the core of getting the right pieces to the right places at the right time. So having the right number of staff to offer a service, having the right product there at any time, so that if it snowed, we don't run out of bread or anything like that, or there's a if at the start of a pandemic, there's nobody running out of toilet paper. I think that kind of hoarding is gone, hopefully. Though I have a friend in Australia who said that the last time there was a big rush there where a couple of people got sick, there was another run on toilet paper. So you don't know what people do. But communication is very essential, and leadership is essential to organize and manage any particular process. So one of the key things about that is that it's about people management, about getting things through and with other people. So it's not just standing up there and leading and managing, but it's also being in with them and working with them. And we do a lot of discussion in our modules on human resource management, on leadership, on ethics, and so on how you would actually work with other people and how other people think and how other people work. So you need two things. You need kind of people and soft skills, which we give you through initial modules and critical skills across all our degrees, and also on processes and technologies and things like supply chain that we've talked about. The second area that I want to talk about is marketing, which is my own area actually. So marketing is about a process of exchange. So if you think about, maybe you have a Spotify account. So how much is Spotify worth to you? Is it worth listening to the ads? Or do you just buy subscriptions so you don't have to? So that's giving a process of exchange as well. So when you buy anything in this world, or you download something for free, what are you getting out of Instagram? Well, you're probably watching a few ads. People are, if you watch YouTube and you follow any YouTubers, many of them, very quick search will show you how they monetize and how things work and what kind of numbers you need. So you can do that. On a bigger level, many of you may remember that the mobile phone brand Meteor rebranded to Air as part of its parent company. And also you can link your brand to a national conversation through sponsorship. So for example, the GAA with Centra and SuperValue, and we see Lidl also with some very interesting campaigns at the moment on ladies football. And actually in the school here, we're working with the Camogie Association at the moment. So we've got them all kind of covered today on their national strategy with our master's group. So it's an interesting thing about, for example, some of the ads you might have seen lately, because we're all watching probably a little bit more television than we used to, though the weather getting better, hopefully not. So that national conversation is a big part of what we do. International business then is slightly different. We take two perspectives in international business. One is that you might want to work abroad with a language, and we offer that through our arts degree. If you're in fifth year currently or in an earlier year, we are hoping to offer a business and languages direct entry from 2022. But for the moment, we offer it through our arts degree. We also offer international business without a language. because we recognize that English is a global language. We're the only one left in the EU at the moment who has English as a native language. And it's still a working EU language, so it's a really important one. And therefore, we believe that Irish companies need to internationalize as well. It's a big part of what we do and how we do things. So as a result, we look to manage people, we manage work organizations, and this kind of increasingly turbulent economies and societies that we live in as things change all the time. And looking at the importance of differences, but not necessarily to say that people are different, but what we can learn and how we can do business with other groups and people in modules like international management and cross-cultural studies and so on. Our next degree is entrepreneurship, and you may recognize that lady, some of you may recognize that lady on the little image there. That is Kylie Jenner. I get them all confused, but that is Kylie Jenner, she of the makeup fame. So I didn't realize until I looked into it that only someone who spent 3 years telling everybody she didn't get lip fillers could actually probably launch a lip product, that's taken over and done really, really well. And she managed to sell it off for a lot of money there about a year or so ago to an international brand. But entrepreneurship is the activity of setting up a business. So whether that's improving a current business, so to innovate in a larger organization, create new products and new services, because large companies, remember, want to be close to us too. They want to learn more about us. They want to make sure that they're meeting our needs, but also social entrepreneurship, maybe changing society through innovative solutions and looking at things. And that's a key element of our approach at Maynooth. So what I'm going to do now is pass you over to Colin, one of our students who's on the entrepreneurship degree, and to have a few minutes to talk to you about his experience. So Colin.
Hi everyone, my name is Colin. As you can see on the screen, I'm a final year student in entrepreneurship here at Maynooth University. So I'm going to tell you a little bit who I am, a bit about my course, why I choose entrepreneurship, my experience in Maynooth University, why I really love being a student in Maynooth, and I'm going to give you a little bit of advice if you want to be a student in Maynooth as well. So for a start on screen, not too many years ago, back in 2017, I did my Leaving Cert, and I looked like the picture on the right. I was tired and overworked, as I'm sure a lot of you are. But I came to the great decision that I wanted to go to Maynooth University. And it's always been a dream of mine to start my own business or my own social enterprise. So I wanted to do a course in entrepreneurship. The reason I wanted to do entrepreneurship is because, like I said, I want to start my own business someday. So I needed to learn what are the essential skills I'm going to need to become an entrepreneur. I wanted to learn about innovation and how new products are made and how ideas get made. And then I also needed some of the more practical skills like the marketing, the HR, the business, and ethics and sustainability, which has been fascinating as well. But I got all of that and a whole lot more. I've had some amazing experiences throughout Maynooth. A couple of pictures here on the screen. So I've been a part of the Enactus Society, which is about social enterprise. So I've got to present to different companies all across Ireland, like Microsoft and Unilever and Citibank, all through Enactus. You can see on the right there, me and a friend, we went to the Enactus World Cup in Silicon Valley. And we got to pitch our project in front of Ford Motor Company and got funding for it. And not only that, I also got to do a work placement in Enterprise Ireland, where I got to work hands-on with real SMEs in Ireland, trying to internationalize. So my experience has been nothing short of absolutely brilliant in learning those skills I need to become an entrepreneur. But I don't just love Maynooth for all the good memories I have and all the good experiences. I make it no secret that we all have our own struggles and stuff. There's so many fantastic student services in Maynooth. I myself have used the Student Assistance Fund. I've used the counselling services, and you really feel that you're supported during the good times and during the not so good times too. So my advice for anyone looking to join Maynooth as a student, back when I did my CEO, that makes me sound old, I'd say put it on your CAO a few times, and I did. Now, I was lucky I got my first choice, which was entrepreneurship, but if you want to go, put it a few times just to keep it there. One thing that really motivated me when I was, trying to study and trying to get, my subjects in order, is to check out the clubs and societies at nulife.ie. That I found, looking at those clubs and societies and seeing what I'd like to join, really motivated me. And it helps you get excited about joining Maynooth. And the last thing I would advise is ask a student, ask any of us. We're very approachable, I'd like to think. Maybe you have someone in your family, you have a neighbor who's a student at Maynooth, but if not, you can ask us online, you can ask us here today. So that's my presentation. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Colin. So I'm going to move on and look at some of our other programs. So there's only one or two more of these types of slides, so I'm not going to spend forever going through every single program we have. A lot of them, as I said, have some commonality. And as Colin said, you can have a number of them in your CAO, and there's ways, and I'll talk about this afterwards, how you can transfer between them at the end of first year or even earlier. So finance, my finance colleagues tells me is a science that describes the management, creation, and study of money, banking, credit, investments, assets, and liabilities. So kind of complicated way of saying of what makes the world go round, I suppose, for want of a better term. And we do learn a lot about, sometimes finance only appears in the news for bad reasons, because a lot of the time it's invisible behind us in terms of making things happen and making sure that we get to have a certain quality of life and so on. So in terms of what you would do for a role and so on, is the idea of moving assets and liabilities. So things like, if you've seen the movies, people buying and selling and all that kind of stuff, there's actually that's kind of doesn't happen anymore. It's all electronic now, but it's a nice piece of drama, I suppose. Over space and time, so looking at kind of how things move across the world, how trade flows and so on. Often when we're not sure about things, risk and uncertainty are a big part of understanding that. And it's a really exciting, interesting area. And it uses similar tools to economics, but tackles some slightly different issues. Economics would be quite a wide science, whereas finance is very focused in on like the economy and looking at that kind of area. And the last of the kind of areas I want to talk about in business is accounting. So from an accounting, you can do lots and lots of different things. I'm professor of marketing here, but I'm also an accountant, funnily enough. That's where I started off. But a lot of people think accounting is just sitting there doing a whole pile of double entry and T accounts. And I can tell you that as an accountant, that's probably the last thing you've time to be doing. So what you're doing is looking at developing a business, looking at investment decisions, looking at how helping a business to source finance, and being more of a consultant, I suppose, understanding financial products for individuals, understanding economic development and how it can fit a business. So it can be being the financial controller, being that kind of area is a really interesting role, or you could decide to be a specialist accountant who focuses in on various different aspects of that. So I'm going to pass you over now to Anna, who's going to talk to you about her experience as a Maynooth student.
Hi everyone, my name is Anna Travers and I'm studying business management and accounting through the arts pathway. So the first thing I was going to talk about is subject choices. So when I came to Maynooth, I think the first thing through my arts was computer science and law maybe, and now I can't even imagine doing anything other than business and accounting. The best thing about that was I wasn't tied down as soon as I went in. It wasn't like, okay, I have to do this or I drop out. That, like, you got flexibility through it, you weren't tied down. And then I've had the choice after first year to transfer degrees, but I stuck with the business and accounting and I've loved every minute of it. The second thing is meeting new people. So the one thing about Maynooth is there is a massive community. You'll be walking down campus and you could be walking between classes and you have to stop 10 times to chat to people because you end up knowing everybody, or you'll be sitting in a business lecture with 400 people and you'll be looking around and be like, oh my God, I didn't realize all these people were in my class. And then, so basically you'll never feel lonely in Maynooth. And the best way then to meet other people is getting involved with stuff, whether that's going to events that are on in the SU, or as Colin mentioned earlier, clubs and societies. Like I think there's nearly 100 clubs and societies, so there's bound to be one you like, and if you don't like one, you can start a new one yourself and get people involved that way. even meeting new people through your tutorials, through your labs, through your lectures. You could be sitting beside someone, ask for a pen. You could be sitting on Zoom and notice you might know somebody or just start a conversation. And then the next thing is the class rep. So I would be class rep for business through arts this year, and I've loved every minute of it. You get to meet more people in your class because you're asking for feedback and how everybody's getting on. People know they can come to you if they have an issue and they don't want to go straight to your lecture. And then you can also get feedback for your lectures and for the department. And then you can see that feedback like in your next semester or your next year actually being done. So like it's rewarding in that sort of sense. And it's also good in your CV, which is also like fun. And then, so your university sports, I know Colin touched on it earlier, but just I would emphasize that if you have any problem, whatever, however big, however small, there is somewhere or someone in Maynooth that's ready to listen, take on what you're saying and get you the help you need. And then, can I go to the next? Yeah, perfect. So then the advice for any students coming to Maynooth, first and foremost, check your emails. I can't emphasize that enough. Just get the app on your phone, put on your push notifications, because if there is anything important, your first point of contact is your emails. So you need to have them on, like 100%. And then secondly, so always ask for help if you're struggling, whether you're looking for an extension on a deadline, you know, it's always better to do those things in advance. Or if you're looking to say, look, I understand the assignment, but I need a little more information on it. It's always good to ask, because if you don't ask, you're not going to get. And then thirdly, trying out the different art subjects. I think my registration sheet in first year was on 3 pages. I tried every subject under the sun, but then I found out what I liked and what I didn't like and what careers I'd like to go into. So you have them first 4 weeks to change your about, so you might make the most of it. And then lastly is have fun.
Thanks very much for that, Anna. So some important points there about how people move through degrees and make decisions and offering a right variety of choice that we talked about. So the kind of going through the degrees part is pretty much there. I just want to mention that obviously we have a lot of links with professional bodies. We have all the accountancy firms there. We've also won the Irish Accountancy Awards for Education in the last couple of years. And we've also got some links in the finance space. We also have links with the Irish Management Consulting Association and a number of other groups like that as well on the business side. But the main professional links that we would have, like any business school, would be with the accountancy bodies, because they validate and our courses, and students get exemptions on that basis. The other thing that's interesting about Maynooth is that in our programs, we do placement. So you can work for 1 year or up to a year, depending on the program, in a company. This has been shown to improve employability, significantly improve employability. And basically it gets you out of that scenario that when you finish your degree, someone says to you, but you've no experience. But you know, you can get experience as part of your degree, and it's structured, and we have a module that goes with it where you're not left alone in an organization. You meet one of our colleagues on a regular basis. We say that it's in paid employment. Legally, I have to say it's about 90% plus, but in effect, it's probably closer to 100%. But there's always the odd placement where a company, or maybe a small company, can't afford to pay people as much, and someone decides to do that. But our main policy is that we want people to be in paid employment for the year. So there's a whole pile of codes there, but effectively, you have the option to do it on all those programs. You can decide to do placement, or you can decide not to do placement. That's your decision. In our quantitative finance degree, there's an integrated 6-month placement. So it is part of your degree in third year. That's the only one of ours where it's locked in, so to speak. On all the rest, there's an option to either do placement or not do placement. So other than 402, one of the things we do compared to other organizations is other of our competitors obviously have placement as well, but for them it's integrated in its core. And sometimes it may not suit you to do placement. You might have had some, amazing summer internship experiences and so on, and you might decide not to do placement. It's not compulsory, so it's available on our general business degrees. So what I'm going to do now is just talk you through very quickly some of the examples of places that we worked, and I'm not sure if we have Colin's one in there anyway, so Enterprise Ireland, but I'm not sure if we have Edwards. I don't think so. We might have missed it on the thing. So this is a wide range of some local and some larger companies that we work with. So I'm going to pass you over now to Edward, who's going to talk to you about his experience as a student with us.
Hello everyone, my name is Edward. I'm a final year finance student looking forward to be finishing at the end of May, and it's pretty hard to believe that my time at Maynooth is coming slowly to an end. So currently I'm studying the BA in Finance, MH 401. I served as the CEO of the Student Management Fund, which is run in collaboration with Goodbody Stockbrokers, which is Ireland's #1 stock brokerage. And I was also the team captain for the CFA Research Challenge, and I'll speak on these a bit later. So about the finance course at Maynooth, it's challenging yet rewarding. The course in first year starts off with learning the basic foundations of economics, quite a bit of mathematics, statistics, and calculus, and quantitative modules as well. And I mentioned that just so that you know that it's there. So those students who are not the most confident with mathematics and struggle with it, it may be a bit more difficult for you. But personally, I was never the best at maths, but I was able to work through it. I enjoyed working with numbers at first, even though I wasn't the best. But the beauty of it is that the faculty at Maynooth are always very approachable and easy to talk to and really easy to get help from. So don't be thrown off by the mathematics. So I like to say that if I was able to do it, so can anyone else really. So after getting past your first year, then it becomes a lot more interesting. And in the second and third years where you learn a lot more about the economy, how stocks and bonds work, how banks work, how finance in general works, as Joseph was mentioning earlier as well. So you learn how to analyze companies from top to bottom, understand how they should be valued. And finally, in final year, you will end up learning even trading strategies through complex financial instruments called derivatives and options and futures and all that good stuff. And regarding the placement, so for those students who want to gain a real exposure to the real world and put the classroom education into practice, you can take on an internship as part of your third year. Personally, I done my internship at a bank called Deptford Bank, but I also interviewed for the Central Bank of Ireland, and we had other students working for other reputable companies as well. So it's a great learning experience. And yes, of course, as it was mentioned, it is paid, so you will not be working for free. And you get to put all your experiences from your classroom into practice and making your CV stand out from day one, so as soon as possible. For me, I learned a lot of what I liked about finance and what I didn't like about finance through my internship. But I learned so many other things simply from having senior colleagues around and talking around me, whether that be in the break room or lunch. And it's simply things you probably couldn't learn in the classroom because you just overhear them in conversations. So personally, my role gave me a lot of responsibility, monitoring trades done by the bank and reporting these to the central bank. So I would highly, highly recommend it for anyone taking on any business course really, to make sure that you get yourself a work placement, as it will definitely make you more employable and stand out. And it's a huge benefit potentially securing a job. So I know some people at Maynooth who secured a full-time role while being in their work placement. And it's such a relief being able to come back to your final year of study and knowing that you already have a job secured and lined up. So within my time at Maynooth, I would advise people to get involved in as many extracurriculars as possible. Personally, I served as the CEO of the Student Managed Fund. And so what the SMF is basically a chance to give students a hands-on investing and trading in the financial markets in real time. So you will gain exposure working with as a financial analyst in an investment firm without the pressures of actually the real world. The SMF covers diverse range of assets, so stocks, bonds, commodities, all of that. You'll get real world experience. So we worked with Goodbody Stock Brokerage, and Goodbody is Ireland's leading financial advisors, wealth managers, and trading firm. So Goodbody provides each fund and each team with a mentor and a guide, so they teach you everything there is to know about analyzing and working in the investment field. So it's an amazing opportunity to gain exposure and experience firsthand from professionals who do this day to day. And so students who are thinking of working in the financial sectors are not the only ones who should take part in the SMF. So we had a lot of people from in all the business strands, in accounting, and all of these being part of the SMF. And then for those who want to be really challenged taking on the CFA Research Challenge offers students a unique opportunity to learn from leading industry experts and compete against the top students in Ireland. So the top 30 students from all around the country, top 5 from each university, including Queen's and Belfast, take part in this competition. And it's an annual initiative that practices equity research. So you look at one specific stock, and you then have to present to a panel of judges who are professional fund managers, and the challenge is set locally, regionally, and even globally as well. So it is a very, very interesting competition where we can take place in. And this challenge really makes you stand out. And just to show how much, just a couple of days ago, I actually got messaged on LinkedIn from the head of real estate at Goodbody, asking if he could view our investment report. It gives us access to connecting with the CEO of a 150 million company that is listed on the London Stock Exchange. So it's a very, very good opportunity as part of the finance degree. And the beauty of the MH 401 finance degree is the flexibility of workplaces you can have afterwards. Personally, I'm going to be going into the world of tech. So it goes to show the options you have with the skills obtained from this degree at Maynooth. You'll have the knowledge of the investment field and investment markets without being limited to working in finance. So overall, I describe my time at Maynooth as challenging, but very, very rewarding. And I look forward to joining Facebook after graduating.
Brilliant, Edward. Thank you very much for that. So if you don't decide to go for placement year, we also on all our programs have the opportunity to go abroad for an academic year. So you study abroad in one of our partner universities globally. If you study arts with a language, you might naturally decide to go to France, Spain, Germany, or China. However, that's the list we have. However, if you want to study through English, so you might not be doing a foreign language with us, you might decide to study in Ireland, or sorry, not study, study abroad through English. So you might go to the US, you might go to Canada, or you might go to Europe through Erasmus. A lot of European universities now teach through English. So you can have an amazing international experience without having to kind of do the language. We're fairly flexible when you go abroad. It's about the experience. So we require certain type of learning, but it's not like a full year that you'd have to do here. And a lot of students find it a very interesting way to explore other things and related parts of their degree. It improves employability and gives you, some valuable international exposure, and a good way of kind of thinking about how you maybe might work in that country in the future, for example. It could be a very good way of looking at that. That choice is also made during year 2. And for example, all our placement, all that situation about where people are going next year is all sorted out at the moment and would be completed this time of year. So you decide if you want to go. Again, our kind of philosophy in the School of Business and across the university actually of choice. So you get to choose. You don't get it mandated into your degree. So in summary, we have this slide, which has got a wide variety of choices here. So we have arts programs and we have 3 main strands of the School of Business: finance, accounting, and business. And we have those with different groups. So we have, for example, down the middle, we have accounting and finance, business and accounting, and law and accounting. In finance, we have our arts degree in finance, which you can do finance with another subject, or you can do the one Edward talked about there, which is his BA finance. And we also have another version of that with international finance and economics, which usually people go abroad with for a year, or you could do a year placement, but that's a 4-year program, or a quantitative finance program, which is a more mathematical version, which I think wouldn't have been around when Edward was starting. I think that that's a relatively new program, but he's done a lot of it actually as part of the way he structured his degree. On the right-hand side, you have our general business degrees, arts, 9 routes available. You can major, minor, or double major, so you can do as much or as little business as you want over the 3 years, combining with another subject. And Anna has that between business and accounting, but obviously we have business students doing almost anything and everything across our 28 art subjects. We also have our business management, international business and marketing, our core business degrees, and entrepreneurship, so the one that Colin was talking about. And then across the bottom there, we have our interactions with law, where you do a half degree in law and either accounting or business. And you also can do out of that, decide to go on and be a solicitor or barrister, because those degrees are Bachelors of Corporate Law, and therefore they are accredited by the Honourable Society of King's Inns and by the Law Society. So therefore you have a lot of different options, and the points are there as well. Before a load of questions come in, I have no idea what the points are going to be next year. It probably depends on how you all do in the Leaving Cert, or the calculated grades, or the better of both, which is a nice way to be thinking about things, I suppose. It takes a little bit of pressure off, but still, you know, it could change points. But last year points changed a little bit, but not an awful lot. So hopefully things won't change too much depending on the target program you have. So what are you going to study? First year skills depend on the program, and I'm dealing with a wide range of programs here. So you might study a bit of management, marketing, economics, accounting. Critical skills would be a big part of what we do, and we're reorganizing our programs to make sure that everyone has these critical skills. If you in the arts program, you can sit a full module and a full subject in critical skills in first year. And it's a big thing about the transition between second level and third level. So understanding about small group teaching, looking at things like presentations and writing, and those skills that'll be very useful to you as you go through your college life. Second year in a business degree, you'll become a little bit more specialist. You'll get to see more about the functional skills. Edward talked about the different skills he learned in second year of a finance degree and looking at how markets and economics work. Third year, you might decide to go abroad, or you might decide to go on placement, or if not, you come back to us for final year and you then specialize in the area that you've decided to study within. Some common questions, just to preview them. So some of these might be in the chat. I haven't looked at them yet, but we're nearly at the chat portion. Do you need to study a business subject for Leaving Cert? Absolutely not. It's not required at all. We take everything from scratch. So we assume that you don't know anything at all. You've never studied business before in your life. And if you have studied business before, accounting, for example, you might have a slight advantage in that you've done some of it already. But you know, you'll probably pick it up fairly quickly. Do you have to be good at maths? Well, I think Edward's answered that question really well for his degree. We do require a higher standard for the quantitative finance degree. So H5 or an O1 for that in particular, because it is more quantitative and there's more maths as you go through it. But it's possible to do a good bit of maths as well with the 401 finance degrees, as Edward talked about. For our general business degrees, there's not a lot of maths in the program. It's mainly applied in that you're looking at, for example, how to analyze the supply chain, how to do a little bit of accounting, how to make sure that you can deal with social media data, for example. So when you become, you know, Insta famous or whatever it is, and how do you manage all your followers and all your DMs and all that kind of stuff. So you need to be able to manage those. So you do need to know a little bit about that kind of stuff. And placements are organized by our university placement office, but you know, if you have connections and you can find yourself a placement and we approve it, that's perfectly acceptable as well. So we have a couple of other sessions this afternoon. So we have some recordings of all our programs that our program directors and some of our students have been involved in. So I'd ask you maybe have a look at those at our Open Days presentation. So maynooth.ie, mu.ie/open days. We're also going to be live from 1 to 3 with program directors and students for any questions that you might have. So I hope I got the time of that right. I think I did. So 1 to 3 this afternoon. So please feel free, you know, to go online. It's a system where you put in questions like you're doing today, and then you will get answers within a couple of minutes by email, and you can enter a conversation with someone if you wish. You can have a look at our school website, which is nuim.e/business, or email us in the business school at business@mu.ie, and we're happy to answer any queries you might have if there's queries you don't want to give today or you think of something afterwards. And if you want to find out more about our programs, we're very open. We tell you exactly what you're going to study. So if you take that link there, apps.maynoothuniversity.ie/courses, I'll leave it on the screen for a few seconds if you want to screenshot it or take a picture of it. You can go into that and type in the name of the program that you're interested in, and you can find out everything about it. You can find out what you study in every single year of the program. It does change from year to year, and that we're updating it, and it'll probably change again in June because we're making some slight tweaks and updates. As Anna said, as she's a class rep, our students give us points of how we can do to make things better, and we try and do those as best we can. So every year we tweak and change things slightly, but the essence of what you're going to study is there. So that's the presentation part done, and to leave some time for questions and answers, I'm going to move over to that now and see if there's any. I know some of my colleagues have been answering them, so I'll just answer some of them live as we go through in the order that they came in. So someone's asked, what's the difference between business and accounting and quantitative finance? So business and accounting would be a degree where you do a core amount of business, but you also fully qualify as an accountant. So you will get full accounting exemptions. Quantitative finance would be quite different in that it's looking towards a career, much more like Edward's talking about, in the financial markets or in the tech side of the technology side of the financial markets. So you wouldn't do a lot of accounting or business really in it. You're more focusing on economics, finance, maths, and computer science. So it's a very different, they're very, very different degrees. Our degrees that are similar, but a little bit different, would be business and accounting and finance. So you can think about those as core accounting degrees with a flavor of finance or a flavor of business. So hopefully I've answered that question. And if not, just come back to me and we'll see. We also have a question about points, which came in probably just before I said it. So do points change hugely? No, not really. They don't change hugely, but nobody knows what's going to happen. So do points, yeah, like, to be honest, we don't know. It's a matter of supply and demand. So the more people that want our programs, the more likely is that points are going to go up. But you know, so make sure and tell your friends to come, because we don't want anyone doing negative publicity for us. But effectively, you know, it's out of our control. And with the way the Leaving Cert and the applied grades are working this year, we don't know what's going to happen. In fact, we don't know any year. But typically they don't change hugely. They don't change by more than, it's very rare that they change by more than 20 or 30 points, to be honest. And if they do change, they'll change across the board, across the entire sector. So that's all I can say on that, really. In terms of partner universities in the US and Canada, we have a wide range of them. They're on our website. They change from year to year. So if you go on to the Maynooth University website, it's mu.ie, and then search for our international office. In our international office, there are a wide range of partner universities mentioned. For example, we have in Canada, we have a number in Toronto and in various other parts, but primarily around Toronto and Quebec. And in the US, we have everything, I believe, from New York, NYU, etc., all the way over to San Francisco and most places in between. And they change from year to year. So things are a little bit more complicated at the moment with the coronavirus, but obviously, typically we would have partner universities that accept our students pretty much everywhere across those two countries. Can I talk about the marketing course? And I have two questions on marketing, so I'm going to answer those together. We don't have a set number of places per program on the business degree. So for example, across business and management, marketing, and international business, we have a set number of places. It varies slightly depending on the government, but you're talking about 130, 150 places, 250 places. The marketing course specifically, I won't talk about it for too long because, as my colleagues know, I could talk about it for days. But the marketing course is a program where you do a general business degree and you learn about consumer behavior, you learn about marketing communications, you've core modules in brand management, you've core modules in digital marketing, and in final year, you look more at international marketing, and you also look at some contemporary issues in marketing, such as how we manage technology, such as artificial intelligence, and how we manage different types of markets, such as luxury, which is one of my personal favorites, but also looking at things like rituals and why we do things the way we do. So for example, why do people wear white dresses at weddings? But if you want to find out more about that, we'll have to get to third year, but we can answer that offline some other way. But yeah, we don't have, if more people want marketing than business and management, that's the way it is. Once you get into the MH404 program, you're in, and that's what it is. In terms of some Leaving Cert accounting, that's a good question. Is Leaving Cert accounting similar? And I might pass that one over to you because you've done it.
Yeah, I found from Leaving Cert accounting, it was the first year kind of covered all the stuff that you would cover in Leaving Cert, but if you didn't, so you definitely have a bit of a step up if you have done Leaving Cert accounting, but if you haven't, it goes through the basics, from the basics up to where everybody else is at. So don't worry about it, genuinely. And
from I suppose one thing about Leaving Cert accounting is a very specific type of program, and at the technical level, a lot of things that you take for granted in Leaving Cert, very simple things that you learn to do mechanically, we go into a lot more detail. So as Anna will probably tell you, she knows more about certain things than any of us ever wanted to know on the technical side. Do we need a third language for international business in the Leaving Cert? No, our business programs, our BBS international business doesn't require a third language for entry. So we just require English and maths. If you want to do international business and languages, and obviously then you need to come in through arts, and then you would need to do a language. Even though we offer some languages ab initio, you need a language to get into the arts degree. You don't need a language to get into any of our business degrees. How many places are there in accounting and finance? Between accounting and finance and business accounting, there's over 100 places, plenty of places. Typically points for those are relatively similar. Accounting finance specifically, I think it's around 60, though, you know, it depends on government. Some is talking about giving us some more money to open more places, and if that happens, we would have more. In terms of what are the hours like for business courses, typically, I suppose maybe the best answer is to ask one of my, maybe Colin, do you want to deal with that? How many hours a week would you have in classes? I mean, I know it's a bit odd at the moment because we've got the virus and so on, but.
Of course, I was just typing an answer, but it's probably easier for me to explain. So as I was just about to say, in second year, for example, I did about 15 hours a week. That's, you know, you can take, say, for example, more modules in the first semester and less in the second, but I typically advise that you do an even amount each semester. So in second year, I did about, I'd say about 15 hours of total contact time, we call it, lectures. But you also have, you know, the likes of tutorials, you have studying for exams, you have assignments and stuff. I will just say one thing though, it can be, and particularly even now, it can be quite flexible because a lot of the lectures would be recorded and stuff. In second year, for example, I was also a carer for a family member, so I was actually able to be quite flexible. So hours wise, it does take hours, it does take time to study and work on assignments and stuff, but it can actually be quite flexible. I think my colleagues would agree.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Colin. That's about 15, and it depends, but typically in second year and third year, you would have 6 modules. Each module would be 2 to 3 hours, so it adds up to that kind of thing. And in first year, you typically would have about 14 or 15 hours as well across of actual contact, be it tutorials in smaller groups or in bigger lectures. And then it changes, and then obviously you have plenty of time to do all the student life part. That's kind of a nice part about being in Maynooth. There's a question, I know my colleagues are answering it. So is there a dissertation at the end of the business degree? At the end of the BBS programs, no. Accounting and finance, no. Arts, it depends on the subject. And for finance, I think, Edward, you're doing one, I think.
Yeah, so there actually is, but it's optional. So the thesis was optional, and a number of students actually took it on, and you can pick exactly what the topic that you want to study on, and it's taken as a module. So you do it all throughout the year. And for me, I personally chose to study the impact of Brexit, but you can discuss with your professor exactly what you want to study.
Okay, thanks for that, Edward. So, I mean, in general on the BBS programs, we don't have that, but you do a lot of essays and you do a lot of writing in other ways. There's 2 quick questions I'll deal with together, which are about our master's programs. This is primarily an undergraduate session, but thank you very much for attending and asking questions about postgrad. We offer work placements across our postgrad. So if you're doing our master's programs, which this is a general open day about undergrad, but we are having a taster week in a couple of weeks' time. So have a look at our website about coming along to that to get more information on our postgrads. And for those of you doing Leaving Cert, that's a couple of years later. We haven't sold you that yet. We're still focusing on undergrad. So the MSc, the placement works over the summer period. So you do 2 taught semesters and you do a placement. We have some restrictions on placement entry, but if you have a question, you can write to me directly. Or else you can, my email is still on screen there, or you can go to business@mu and we'll answer you over the weekend, or in early next week. But there's plenty of opportunities for placement, and there are some restrictions about access in terms of grades, but it's just to make sure that it's right for you. So hopefully that answers those questions on that. In the business course, yes, we do like people to purchase textbooks, but if you can't afford all the textbooks, we have them in lots of copies of them in the library. We also, in the later years of the program, would focus in on online resources from our library that are available from everywhere. So academic articles and more topical things. Sometimes there are books that cover the program in great detail. And for every program, we would offer a book that we kind of follow. Sometimes if you're doing a degree in something, so for example, if you're doing a business and management degree, it would be really interesting and good for you to buy one or two of the first year books, because you'd probably be able to use them all the way through. And for some specialist areas that you're interested in, so for example, if you did the marketing degree, we would probably definitely recommend that you bought a marketing textbook, because it would be a good resource the whole way through. And accounting, I think that would be a good idea to buy some resources in some of those areas, or it'd be very, very challenging in some cases. But lectures are very full. I mean, you get all the information you need. You might need to go online to find some extra information, but primarily it's not like school where you have to have books. You can get them as you need them from the library. Also, if you don't want to spend the full money, some academic textbooks can be expensive. There's actually ways to rent them for the year, and then you're done with them. You can download them and you can find them online as well. So hopefully that answers your question. In terms of transfer, you can transfer from arts at the end of first year into any of our degrees. Technically, we have an option to transfer into any one of the degrees that you saw other than arts. So you can stay in arts, as Anna did, and get that dual degree issue, or you can actually transfer at the end of first year once you meet requirements, and all those requirements are explained at the end of first year. They change slightly from year to year, but effectively you just need to pass what you're doing in first year to a certain standard, and then you can transfer. So if you want to transfer into the BBS, for example, marketing or business management, international business, or entrepreneurship, you would do a certain set of subjects in arts, pass those, and then be there. So the dissertation question, I think I have already answered, so maybe the person there missed it. And I'm just conscious of time. We said we'd be here till 12, and it is 12 now. And I hope we've answered all questions. If there's anything else, please feel free to contact us on business@mu.ie, or obviously on to me directly at joseph.coughlin@mu.ie. So thank you very much for your time, and thanks to Colin, Edward, and Anna for coming along, and John for being a powerhouse in the background. So thank you very much for everything, and a copy of this will be available early next week. Thank you very much. Goodbye.